Hi everyone, and welcome to this special edition of our live Google Hangouts on the Desteni I Process channel. This Hangout is being broadcasted on Monday instead of on Thursday because this was the day that Ingrid, our participant today, was able to make it. And the topic that we're going to be discussing today is quite interesting. It has to do with the physical condition called a spastic colon. And so Ingrid is here to share about that condition, how she walked through it for herself, and how she has supported and assisted herself with the Desteni tools to live with this condition. As always, you're welcome to ask questions through the Google event page, where you can place your comments or your questions for Ingrid. And if you're on YouTube watching this Hangout right now, you have to go to the lower left corner and you can click the button that says be part of the conversation, and that will take you to our Google Plus page. And I have to mention for everyone watching that we're not medical professionals or physicians, so we're not here in any professional capacity. Everything that is shared here is personal experiences. If you do have a medical issue, we suggest that you seek a doctor or a physician, and to take that into consideration, that we're simply here sharing what we've walked through in a personal capacity. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you, Ingrid. So you're from the Netherlands. Hi, yes. Ingrid.
Hi, Anna. Hi, everyone.
So I'm very glad that you're here and really looking forward to hear about your experiences with the spastic colon condition. Could you start by walking us through what is the spastic colon condition? How did you get it? And what has been the process that you've walked so far with it in your own life?
Yes. Spastic colon is the colon, that is the large intestine, where the poo come out, to make it clear. The digestion, the last part of the digestion system. And there are several places where it cramps, and that can be more or less. It can be specific places, it can be a lot of places, and that is cramping. The colon has muscles all the sides, because it has to process, to push the waste of the food outside of the body. Everyone knows that. That's what's coming out in the toilet. So that are the muscles who that are digesting. Actually, what is it doing like that? Kneden. I don't know the word in English. It's pushing it out, and that muscles can also be cramped. So then I put my hand here. It is not doing its movement, but it's cramped on several places, so it cannot do the movement. So then you have two things that can happen. One is that everything becomes very thin and it goes through that little place that you've left where it is cramped. So then you have mostly diarrhea, or it's becomes obstipation, because the waste cannot go through the little space that is left within the cramp. And most of times it is both, but almost everyone has what is it, or mostly diarrhea or mostly constipation when it is cramping. So that's well, that also has to do with how the body is maybe also, well, I'm not sure. Well, we leave that part, but what it is related to. With me, it is the condition is mostly cramped, and when it is really cramped, it is obstipation. So I don't have often diarrhea, so I hold on. Is that clear, the condition?
Yeah, and when did you discover that you had this condition?
I actually only noticed the constipation part And that was when I was 16. And before, I'm not so sure about it. It's not really in my memory. I know I had sometimes really pain on one place in my intestine, and it is still the place where the cramp is the most painful. So it was already when I was very young. It was a place that was hurted, let's say it. But I didn't.
Genetic?
Sorry.
You know if it's genetic?
The predisposition for getting, let's say, problems in the intestine, that is genetic. So it was in the large intestine, in the line of my mother, there are some more issues with it. But it's not especially the cramping or the spastic.
So do you want to walk us a little bit through how did having this condition, how did that affect your life?
When it started, how did it affect in the beginning? Well, let's just start in the middle, because when it is cramping and it is the poo is not coming out, that's what it is. Then it is very uncomfortable all day, because actually you have a conflict within your body, because on one side it wants to push it out, and on the other side it's holding on. So, and really you cannot imagine how strong that cramping is. It's really holding tight. So that conflict is all day within the body. So it's painful, very painful, and but painful. It was for me not the most what affected me the most, because I became very tired of it. Like standing is difficult, and you have actually a pressure on that place all the time. And there, well, we come to that later, but there are also emotions involved, and the waste, the pressure is all the time pushing on that emotions. So I also became very emotional because of that. Yeah, that are the most that affected me the most. So the tiredness and really becoming weak after, because we are talking here about 10-20 years that it goes on.
But is there did you take medication, and is it something that you were diagnosed with, or was it more something you discovered for yourself?
Yeah, I discovered it for myself in the beginning, because what I was saying, it wasn't I wasn't really aware that it was spastic. So I was aware that it was delayed. The waste was delayed, so it was too long in my body. And I noticed that could be different. So I noticed all the time, there's something that should be different. My body is not working properly, but it's not something that I cannot change. So that was on the whole, from the beginning, I noticed that. And I started the study of natural medicine when I was 21, so that was about 5 years later. So there you learn a lot about the intestines. So I took there all the support that I could find, but still I had a pattern of, well, let's say it was the waste once in 3 days. So normally it is once a day or twice a day when we have normally. Of course there are changes in it, but and only later in the process, maybe already during that the natural medicine study, I started noticing, okay, but it's not really delaying, it is cramping. So then you have different things that you need to support yourself with, because the cramping is a different condition in the body than just a delay. But it's also delay, so you have the two things together that you need to work with. actually.
And this, the natural medicine that you were studying in these techniques, were they also looking at the emotional, or you could say the mental aspect of it, or was it merely the physical?
Merely physical. The mental aspect was taken with it, but not properly enough to really get through.
Because I know that you have investigated a lot about the, you could say, the mental aspect or the process aspect of this condition, which I find very interesting and something that I see also can support others, not only with this condition, but in general in terms of creating body awareness within ourselves. So could you share a bit more about what you've discovered in terms of, because you've been walking this process, like you were saying, for almost 20 years.
Yes.
So you must have learned a lot about your own body and also how it's connected to the mind. So can you walk us through that development that you learned more and more as you were walking with this condition?
Yes. It was also something that I was, I thought that aware of, that there was a mental aspect in it. So it was a physical, but I couldn't couldn't solve it only with the physical treatments. I had done so many treatments, and it didn't. It became better a little bit, and then it fall back. Better a little bit, fall back. Better a little bit, fall back. So it didn't really progress. So I knew there was a mental and an emotional aspect, but I couldn't really work with it actually. And of course, when you have delay and obstipation, the common phrase is, okay, you hold on too much. So everyone was telling me I hold on too much, and that was also something, okay, you hold on too much, so what are you going to do about it? Because letting go is not so easy if you hold on, let's say it like that. So
yeah, and also if it's manifested on such a complete physical level,
yes,
where it's automated in the body, it feels like, and it is to a certain degree, that it just happens. You can't control it anymore.
No, it is too much. No, you can't control it at all. You don't see where it starts, because it is really integrated actually. So it is really difficult to start when you don't have the tools, let's say that. But maybe I first tell a little bit about not especially how, but what I did is first support my body, because in the end, when I walked it a long time, I was trying to get out of that cramp, and it didn't work. But within that, the mucus of the intestine, you have the muscles and then you have the mucus, was really becoming irritated and thin. So everything becomes worse and worse and worse. So that was also why the physical treatments didn't really support, or they did support but didn't really solve it. So first I finally find some support to really support that mucus, to heal the mucus again. So the irritation becomes less, and it became stronger inside, because it was really, really sensitive in the end, and really critical actually. And I say that because when you start walking process, there's also again coming some tension on it, because then you are looking into the patterns, and the patterns are giving resistance. So the cramp is first getting stronger before you go to the loosening. Let's say that it's first showing it before you can walk through. So the body has to be a little bit strong, because otherwise you cannot take on yourself. Let's say that, take on your own mind.
So for our viewers who aren't that familiar with process, can you expand a little bit more on how you realize this, or what it is that you mean, how that affected you?
Yeah, I walked all these points. I make my body stronger before I even started the process. So that's all before. So I went to, I would say, go to good therapists with natural medicines and supplements, or a store who have some good advisors, and well, actually take everything that you can find that will support your body with some specialists. And I don't mean the specialist from only doctors. In the hospital you can make a diagnosis, and if you're really worried you can take a look inside your intestine to see if everything is really okay, so that you can move on with your own solutions, actually, so that you are not missing any critical points inside your body. That's really important, and it's also cool to see that actually inside it's quite okay. So that's also something of this condition, that it is really painful, but it doesn't mean that it's really bad inside your body.
Like you're not dying from it.
Yes. It can become very bad if the critical points and the mucus become very, very thin, but then you are a lot further in the process, in the condition.
So I'd like to, we have a question from Peter, but before I give you that, I'd like to ask you about what you were saying before in terms of how you actually have to be stronger to be able to take it on. So do you mean that at this point your body was kind of in a survival mode, that it could only just handle to just somehow get the waste out, and it wasn't able to start the process of actually healing itself? Is that kind of how you meant it?
No, I mean more maybe that I was in survival mode, so I needed all my attention to the physical process.
So like that you first had to start even supporting your body, because before you could begin looking at the underlying issues.
Yeah, but I have to say, if I would have known the process earlier, because in the beginning state my body was strong. It was more during, I walked from 60, now I'm 41. So after 35 or after 30, the body also become less strong and less fast in recovery. So when you are starting everything together, when you're quite in good condition, then really start directly, because it can really be shorter than 20 years that I have walked. Absolutely. It was, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question from Peter here relating to the point with the mucus. So yeah. He's asking, from a natural medicine point of view, what is the suggested treatment to restore the mucus of your intestine? And here I would just again remind the viewers that this is simply Ingrid sharing her personal perspective. So we're not here in the capacity of being medical professionals. But in your perspective, Ingrid, what is my perspective of treatment?
I am not giving any supplements names, because that is, I think, not what is this hangout meant for. So I can write it down if you want. So I will send an email about it. But what I notice about treatment for the mucus with the food is that it has to be easy to digest, but it still has to contain small vessels. But you cannot make it too heavy, but you can also not make it too easy. So, for example, smoothies, green smoothies, protein shakes. When you have some bread is very heavy to digest. When you have some bread, then take not too heavy bread, but also not white bread. And bread all the way is not the best to digest. But when you take some, then take some in between. Soup, warm food, really warm food, oatmeal in the morning. all that kind of things that are cooked or make very thin, very easy to digest, but still a little bit easy activating the digestion. That's what I noticed.
Okay, very cool. And you can actually, if you'd like, we will place Ingrid's the link to Ingrid's Facebook profile in the description of the video after the Hangout is uploaded on YouTube. So if you do have any questions for Ingrid, you can contact her through there.
Yeah.
So Peter is clarifying on his question, and he's saying it's more the process, the elements you need. So I'm not sure exactly, Ingrid, do you understand what he means?
Does he mean mineral elements or what?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Peter, it would be good if you could clarify because we don't exactly understand the question. So in the meantime, while you write your question, we can continue. So you were walking this process with natural medicine, and you were noticing that it's not enough. I have to look deeper, or I have to look into other points.
Yes. Yeah. What I we come to the what is it? What was the nice question? what it has given me. But
I'd like us to talk about that in the end. But what I find so interesting and so rewarding about the process that you walked is that you've really learned a lot about your own body, and it is so cool for the rest of us who either have the same condition or who do not have the same condition, or maybe even don't have any illness in the body, to learn from your example and the process that you walked with your body. And the point where we sort of left off when we went to Peter's question was you were talking about this point of how you realized that you had to now start supporting your body. And it started becoming stronger, and then you started looking into the more emotional aspects of what was causing the condition.
Yes. What I always find, actually from the beginning, my body became a point of cross-reference, and I always noticed, because my body wasn't how I knew it could be, and that can be different because I wasn't ill or something. I had a good condition, and it became only worse and worse and worse and worse. So I knew that something is wrong. that it should not be this way, because I lived healthy and things like that. So always was there the feedback of my body that there was something not in balance. And that always kept me looking, and it always kept me quite physical focused, actually. So because you have some theories of positive thinking, we come now in topics that we have discussed in the other hangouts. But for example, that you could go looking into when you want to solve this problem into the body, and I noticed it's not it. It doesn't do anything for the body, so I cannot do anything with it. So I never stepped into, let's say, the more mind directions. It always kept me focused on the body, on the physical, so that it kept me quite earthed, actually. So that is a cool point about it, and it also kept me. I experienced it as limiting, but it always kept me that I didn't go too far in, for example, when you're younger, going out or using drugs or something. I all didn't do it because I couldn't do it for my body. So or I went out and I also had taken some alcohol things, but I always stopped because I had to take care of my body. So yeah, there it was a good cross-reference point for, and that also brought me actually to Desteni, so to process what we are walking now, because after I supported my own body and I noticed it became stronger, and I was, yeah, quite in a good condition, so I could live my life, but it wasn't still solved. So it did come back several times, and well, it still was there on the background all the time. So yeah, it wasn't there actually. And well, a friend, Sylvie, she found Desteni, so that's how I got in. That's another story, but also because they showed how to work with the mind. That was what I noticed directly, that was supportive. So for me, that was the step in to process, because I could see directly, okay, now we're talking. Now here we can work with. So, and that's actually the first time that I finally come to the core of the problem, and it's not a solution in one time, but that I finally learn how to work with it. Because before I also had, for example, you have for this spastic colon, you have, for example, the hypnotic therapy. Are you there?
Yes, I got booted there for a moment.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you were saying.
What was the last thing you hear?
Well, you were talking about how you started participating with Desteni and with the process, and how you finally found something that actually really worked, and you started getting to the core of the problem.
Yes, yes. And how to work with it for myself. And then I named the hypnotherapy. That is also therapy that is a lot of used with spastic colon. And there you have two treatments. The one side is to more relax your mind, actually, with relaxation tapes, things like that. And one is also looking inside, if you can see what is stored inside your intestine. And
stored in terms of emotions and
yes,
memories and stuff like that.
Yes. And that part I found very supportive to start with, because that I also noticed, okay, now we're talking again, because then it has a cause, and I want to find a cause, because otherwise I felt it isn't gone. So tomorrow it can be here again. So it's like something that's always on my back, because I didn't know when it was coming. I can have it tomorrow, and maybe I have wrong food, maybe I have an emotion. So it was really, I didn't see where it started. And
so sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
And the relaxation part, it didn't do so much, yeah, for a moment, but it didn't bring me to the core. So, but here I want to say that all the treatments had brought something in. So it really is, brings a step further in it's everything together.
So how have you used the Desteni tools specifically to assist and support yourself with this condition, and can you share some of the insights that you've gained about it and yourself within it and the body and mind relationship?
And what I find most supportive is the writing. And when I'm 3 years now walking the process with Desteni. And
you mean the Desteni I Process course?
Yes, the writing, the blogging, and the course. Yes, actually that was my direct start. And I've had also during that process a lot of times that I was already in the condition again of where the cramping was really bad, and in the most heavy times, let's say that, I always started to write, and I was always able to write myself through some issue that was there at the moment. And I also find that every time it's a little bit different what I have to do as a support for myself. So what I did yesterday that could help me, maybe after 3 weeks there is another point coming up and I have to do a little bit different. So I always have to see, okay, what's in it now? What do I have to look at? Maybe it's food, maybe it's a supplement. What's the mind pattern? What's the emotion? What did I do? What points did come up in an interaction? So that's the point that's always different. And what is actually always here is that it is related to reactions. And that reactions is of course what we work with all the time, the reactions, the emotions and feelings that are following up all the thoughts inside our own minds. And the reactions, it is actually like I was in constant reaction, so my body was in constant reaction. So that the start is pretty much overwhelming actually, because you have to find a way in that constant state of reaction that the body is in. And when the body is in reaction, I go on reaction on my body again. So that's what's happening when it's and one day I have a cramp, I cannot go to the toilet, I have pain all day. There is already an emotion that has caused it. But then the day that I'm in pain, I'm reacting again because that point is triggered all day. So I cannot focus on anything. I could work, but actually, it was like the tears were all behind my eyes all the time. I was very emotional and very uncomfortable.
It goes to show the consequence of our participation in the mind and how participating in these emotions and reactions and not releasing them, how it actually affects this body, our bodies. And then also it goes to show also the interrelations or the interconnectedness between the mind and the body, and how we're actually carrying our entire life, everything that we've been through, all the memories, all the thoughts, everything, has to be processed in our bodies because we have not learned to deal with and to, for example, let go of the reactions. So
Yes.
how would you say, also in relation to where you are now with it, and also for other people who are experiencing the same condition or maybe similar conditions where it's like a constant pain, what insights can you share or tips in terms of how one can work with it in one's process?
Yeah, first of it is what I found the most difficult point was when I was already in that state where it was very cramped again, and that lasts for a day of 4 or 5. So that is a long time when you are in pain, and that was the most difficult times to walk through, because they are already in reaction and reacting on the reaction, and okay, how to stand in that. And that was also a question that I asked when I went to South Africa. Actually, the first question in the car, I was driving there with Desteni, and the first thing she said is that I'm already in consequence then, so I have to walk it through, but also I have to sit it out. So when that happened, when I was already in process, I knew, okay, I'm again in consequence. So then it's first key is actually to not reacting on myself, on being in consequence.
So what does it mean to be in consequence? Can you explain?
Yes, consequence is that I have reacted in situations very much in interaction or on myself in points, and I didn't stop myself going into that reactions. So I reacted, reacting, and I move on, until it affected my physical body really badly. That's actually consequence. And what we learn in bit of writing is that we see where we are reacting, and first thing is that we learn how to stop ourselves from reacting and how to work with that, how to write it out, the self-forgiveness application on it, and then after this the correction process. So I was always too late, you can say, in the beginning, and that is also how sorry?
Not, and then you had to then deal with the consequences, and then it started over again.
Yeah, and that's also what I asked, and that the answer was, when we start walking process, we first walk consequences all the time. So we have to see first that what we are doing actually to ourselves within that reactions, and within going into reactions inside ourselves, in the thoughts, in the emotions, in the feelings, into the judgments, to others, to ourselves, well, actually to everyone around us. And if we don't walk that first, then we cannot see what we are doing, and then we cannot stop it. So yeah, I had to walk a lot of time the consequence, and then you slowly walk it back, and actually I'm now in the process of walking back, so I'm not yet within the state where I can prevent everything. So I'm more in the walking back, but I'm not in a consequence of 5 days anymore like that.
Very cool.
So there's really progression going on, yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that. As I said earlier, and if any, what are the gifts? It may sound a little bit strange, but have you seen any gifts that you have gotten or that you have given yourself from having walked with this condition for so many years?
Well, the gift is that it kept me very close to my physical, and that is at the same time also that I want to learn to do with and for myself without needing my physical to show me. So in this way.
As through consequence that the body gets sick, for example.
Yes. Yes,
absolutely.
I really want to learn to prevent going into that, and just stay, or not just, to stay within my physical, and see where I go in reaction, and stop myself on time. But when I look at it, it is a gift, because because it prevented me from making consequence outside. I created them inside. So yeah.
That's very interesting. I never considered that, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So here, before we finish this hangout for today, do you have any the core tips or points of support that you'd like to share with others who are walking a similar process with an illness or condition, or who have just started walking their processes? Any core insights or tips that you would like to share with the viewers?
I would suggest to walk the two paths together. So walk the process of the writing, the application of self-forgiveness, self-correction, how it is provided in the Desteni I Process Lite. And at the same time walk the... Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And at the same time walk the physical support, and because they are how can I say, they are quantifying each other. They are making when you have the physical support, the points that you have to work with will come to the surface, and you can work with it in process. And when you work with it in process, the physical treatments will become more effective, and so you can go like this, and then that's that's the support that I always give myself, and that is working very effective. And I also get that feedback when I go now to a treatment from, for example, an osteopath, and he say, okay, we have worked on that point last time. Okay, you have worked very hard this period, and then I know, yes, I have walked the writing, the self-forgiveness process. So it's really the body is showing it, that it is releasing.
Very cool. So you work with the feedback from the physical body and the consequences that are already manifested from years and years of participating in the reactions and in the energy, and then you support the body, and then at the same time you release that which caused it, you could say, that which created the consequences, and so less and less and less create consequences till we are actually able to, that we're standing here and we can create ourselves, so we can actually start creating something new instead of have to only deal with the consequence of what we've become.
Yes. Yes.
That's very cool.
That's very cool.
And you are a very cool example of this, because many people in this world are walking with similar conditions and may simply give up, and don't take it on themselves to actually find a solution. And here at Desteni, we can support with that. Like you're saying, it's not necessarily the whole solution, because you also need to take care of the body and the consequences that are already manifested as a disease or as a physical condition or weakness. But what you can do is actually start directing that yourself and supporting yourself to stop these consequences.
Yes. Yes. And you can use everything. You also the medical, where you go first when you the doctor, the normal doctor, what is it in English? And they do not have the solutions for a spastic colon, but they can help you with some diagnostic things. So you can involve everyone in it, actually. And then just ask them when you need sometimes a prescription, or sometimes you need a small note to go to someone else, or just discuss it with them and tell them your plans, what you are wanting, what you are wanting to do. Because my doctor, he always supported me in that, and he worked with me in it, because he knew he hadn't a solution for it. So we have to work our own solution, but he has to check if everything is okay in the body, if the intestine is really okay, if there's not really a critical point that you have to go to the hospital for, things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then one can then look, and if one is interested in alternative medicine, look what kind of alternative practitioners exist in one's area, who has maybe speak to colleagues or others who have gone to such practitioners, because that's very important. Often there are no regulations on the alternative medicine area, which means that it's difficult to ensure that you get proper help. And there are actually people out there who are, worked in, like you said, the osteopath, who's, for example, worked maybe for 20 years, who can actually really help. But it is an area that I would suggest to do a lot of research before selecting, and then you might even have to try different kinds. Yes. I know you have a lot of experience with that as well.
Yes. Yeah, and everything. If you choose well, then it gives a small progression, and then you go to the next. It's just what you need, what your body needs, actually. Yeah.
Very cool. And so I'm just going to select the clarification of Peter's question from before. He's saying, yes, minerals, specific types of food, vitamins, etc. You already answered parts of the questions with the do's and the don'ts. So that's very cool. And like I said before, if you want to ask Ingrid a question, you can contact her through her Facebook page, and we will put that in the link or the description of the Hangout when it is uploaded on YouTube. It usually takes about 10 to 15 minutes after we finish the Hangout. So please check back for that, or you can, of course, search for Ingrid on Facebook, Ingrid Schaefer. So Ingrid, thank you so much for being here. This was very interesting. And of course, we will also put a link to Ingrid's blog in the description. It is a Dutch blog, so if you speak Dutch, you are lucky there. And we will be back with another hangout in our physical body series, not on Thursday, but on next Thursday, since we did this hangout now here on Monday. And Ingrid, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.